This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Zetavo Soybeans, transforming the approach to soybean seed decision-making with trailblazing innovation and quality without compromise. I'm Ty Higgins. A farm science review preview, a pleasant forecast, and managing late-season challenges. This morning's news feed delivered by Ebert's Field Seeds, proven local seed performance for Ohio farmers. It's time to start planting Ebert's. Call 937-473-2521 or visit online at ebertsseeds.com. The annual 3-day Farm Science Review, hosted by the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences, brings farmers, researchers, educators, students, and industry together to share what works and explore what's next at the Molly Caron Agricultural Center near London between September 22nd and 24th. Nick Zachrich is manager of Farm Science Review. He shares some of the highlights of this year's event.
Field demos are always a highlight for us, and this year we have a new category with weed management. So there's some tillage, so the organic growers will appreciate some of the hardware that's there that you can use, but then also some different methods of controlling weeds with electricity, with the sprayer that's actually solar powered, but then also can target weeds with chemical. Pretty neat application that I think a lot of people would look at like, wow, that's the farm of the future, but there's actually some in use in Madison County. So they are being used on farms across America right now. Not a lot of them out there yet, but I think it's going to be a growing company, and they're here to exhibit this year and have a demonstration. They've been an exhibitor in the past, but this year they're going to provide that demonstration, and then the plants for that are pretty cool. It even has a docking station at the edge of the field so they can go refill itself and get back to work.
Why do you think, from a farmer's perspective, there's intrigue in that space?
Well, there's technology, I think, is always bring some thought process to, could it work on my farm? There's always a price tag with that, so everybody always wants to know how much is it going to cost, how long is it going to take to pay back. So I think there's always that intrigue there too. And I always encourage farmers to go back and try again too, because they might pencil it out and say, well, that's not going to work for me. But then, maybe in a couple years, once the technology develops a little bit more, maybe the price comes down a little bit, maybe the input prices of everything else that you're using to maybe do that weed control management in that case is going to, it's just going to offset itself now, or maybe it's going to pay back X number of dollars. So I think that's probably why farmers are so intrigued by some of those things, and especially technologies, because, well, it looks really cool, but it's never going to work. Well, okay, now it's going to work, and it's really here for today.
You can find out more at fsr.osu.edu. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work with Dusty Sonnenberg.
With soybean harvest a little less than a month away, Science for Success, a project of the Soybean Checkoff, had a webinar managing late season challenges. And Christy Sprague, a weed science specialist at Michigan State University, talked about the availability of different harvest aids similar to what they use in the South and advantages that could provide to northern growers.
So in the North, typically we don't usually look at desiccation of soybeans that often. So it's kind of a newer thing that people are really exploring. And part of it is we're trying to start to plant soybeans earlier and trying to maybe use some later maturity soybeans. And from that standpoint, we're trying to make sure we can get harvest done a little bit earlier. When we looked at some of our harvest aids, we compared those earlier applications to kind of what the label applications are. And we did see at that R65, we did see some yield reductions from 7 to 9% in 50% of those years. So out of 2 out of 4 of those site years. Additionally, one other thing that we did is we decided to look at what happened to the soybean seed dry down. Are we able to decrease moisture? And out of all 4 of the site years that we had, we only saw 1 year, and really we only saw a 2-day advantage to using one of those desiccation products to really reducing that seed moisture. So probably not really helping us out a whole lot as far as that seed maturity. So as we looked at a lot of our stuff that we've done, really from our northern perspective up in Michigan, really didn't see too much of an advantage to using a harvest aid to really speed down dry down, but it does help desiccate some of those leaves that are out there. But one of the benefits that we primarily see is if we're trying to improve our harvest efficiency, if there's weedy fields out there. And we've got a lot of challenges with herbicide resistant weeds, also weeds that we're not getting very good control of. So in those situations when we need to get out there and those weeds are green, a lot of times some of these harvest aids can help reduce the challenges that we have with those weeds when we're trying to start harvest.
Again, those are the comments of Christy Sprague, weed science specialist at Michigan State University. This update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your Soybean Checkoff.
Time to check the forecast with Ryan Martin, brought to you by Seed Genetics Direct, the #1 fastest growing and largest Ohio-based independent seed company.
Frontal boundary has cleared the state of Ohio this morning, and we should be settling in with nice backside dry weather. It is still warm. We don't look for a big temperature fall off here. Humidity values, though, not too crazy as dew points stay relatively in check. I'm calling for a dry weekend ahead of us as well, and the dry start to next week, Monday and Tuesday. I think we have to watch for some scattered showers and thunderstorms in northern parts of Ohio next Wednesday morning to midday. Taking a break then, mostly dry for Thursday and Friday morning before Friday afternoon, and Saturday and Sunday we see scattered showers and thunderstorms coming back. Could be a damp start to our holiday weekend, but Labor Day itself does look to turn out dry. We are looking at a very warm, very muggy week then, the week of the 7th, with rain and thunderstorms coming back in a big way late that week. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Ryan, thank you. Some good news items on OhioAgNet.com. Ohio corn growers pushing for answers on fertilizer prices. New Ohio oil and gas laws bring changes to landowners. The Ohio Farm Transition Network is launching a new statewide professional training series to strengthen farm transition planning. And who gets the final say when data centers come to Ohio communities? All that and more online at OhioAgNet.com. Which land lease options have the best ROI? More on that coming up in today's featured audio after this as the Ohio AgNet continues.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
What's better than getting the trusted farm news you count on from Ohio's Country Journal? Having a chance to win a brand new Arctic Ultra Tough cooler. The Ohio's Country Journal sweepstakes are back. Subscribe or renew your subscription today, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of two 45-quart Arctic Ultra Tough coolers. Just visit ocj.com/renew for official rules and to complete your subscription or renewal for your chance to win. Ohio's Country Journal, your source for Ohio farm news.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and in today's featured audio, what kind of land lease options have the best return on investment? Joe Everett has that story.
Farmland owners or operators face a choice of lease options, but which one pays more? Agricultural economists at Purdue University looked into that question and found that over the past 20 years, no single lease type consistently outperformed the others. Michael Langmeyer, the director of Purdue Center for Commercial Agriculture, found that depending on where you were in each lease, returns could differ by more than $100 per acre in any given year. The real question is, which lease matches your risk tolerance?
Leasing land is one of the most important financial decisions in U.S. agriculture, and for most operations, it directly affects cash flow stability, exposure to price swings, and long-term profitability per acre. In many cases, the lease structure matters just as much as yield or input decisions, which is why understanding long-run performance differences between lease types is so important. Today, we're breaking down long-run net returns from three common lease arrangements: crop share, fixed cash rent, and flexible cash rent, and what they mean for land owners and operators in today's environment.
Fixed cash rents tend to be the most stable.
Fixed cash rent provided the most stability, while crop share and flexible cash rent were far more volatile, rising faster in strong markets, but also falling more sharply in years with weaker prices. That distinction is critical because it shows there is no single best lease in all environments, only trade-offs between stability and upside.
He also talked about the crop share lease option.
The crop share lease highlights this trade-off clearly. From 2013 to 2019, crop share returns were on average about $70 per acre lower than fixed cash rent. But from 2020 to 2022, that relationship flipped, with crop share returns reaching as much as $74 per acre higher than fixed cash rent in some years. That kind of swing tells us something important. Crop share leases amplify market cycles. When commodity prices are strong, they can outperform fixed cash rent, but when margins are tight, they tend to lag.
Langmeyer then talked about the flexible cash rent lease.
The flexible cash rent lease behaves like a hybrid between fixed cash rent and crop share, capturing some upside in strong years while partially smoothing downside risk. For example, during the 2020 to 22 period, flexible cash rent outperformed fixed cash rent by about $68, but in more recent, weaker periods, including 2023 through 2025, returns declined with this lease. Looking ahead to 2026, projections show no bonus payment, meaning returns move closer to fixed cash rent levels again. This tells us that flexible cash rent is not automatically an upside strategy. It depends heavily on whether revenue thresholds are met.
And while the type of lease can have a big impact on the financial risk for both farmers and landowners, Ohio State's agricultural law experts say there's another important piece to consider: making sure the lease itself is enforceable. Robert Moore with Ohio State's Farm Office says a good farm lease should be in writing and clearly identify the farmland, the legal owners, and everyone involved in the agreement. All parties should sign the lease, and leases longer than 3 years have additional requirements, including notarized signatures. Moore also reminds Ohio farmers and landowners about the important deadline coming up September 1st. A year-to-year verbal farm lease or a written lease without a termination provision automatically renews unless the landlord provides notice of termination by September 1st. So as harvest approaches, it's a good time to review those farmland agreements, making sure the terms are clear and understand both the financial and legal sides of the lease. For more information on farmland leasing, Ohio State's Farm Office has resources available at farmoffice.osu.edu. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joe Everett reporting.
Thanks so much, Joe. We'll check the markets and get some analysis after this on the Ohio AgNet. Wake up, Ohio farmers! Ohio's Country Journal is bringing the coffee to you. We're stopping by rural coffee shops, diners, and your favorite morning gathering spots across the state. And while we're there, the first 25 folks through the door get a free cup of coffee, a limited edition Ohio's Country Journal mug, and the latest issue of OCJ, all on us. Want us to visit your hometown hangout? Head to ocj.com/coffee shop and sign up your local spot today. Brought to you by Leist Mercantile and Ohio's Country Journal, your source for Ohio farm news.
If agriculture is your way of life, you need news you can count on. That's why Ohio farmers turn to Ohio's Country Journal, your source for the latest in crop updates, livestock insights, market trends, and the stories that celebrate country life across our state. Every issue keeps you informed, connected, and ready for what's next in Ohio agriculture. So don't miss a beat. Renew your subscription or sign up today at ocj.com/renew and grow with the publication built for Ohio farm families. That's ocj.com/renew.
This is the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and this morning's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company in Upper Sandusky, opening to receive soybeans starting on September 1. So, Ohio farmers, get your RFID tag this week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. To learn more, call 419-731-7100. 419-731-7100. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets rocket higher on Wednesday as new war premium runs to the marketplace. Yesterday, Russian President Putin said he's prepared to escalate the war with Ukraine and is viewing attacks with NATO-supplied weapons and intelligence as quite threatening. Any peace efforts have broke down. Russia sees no choice but to escalate the war with Ukraine, including in the agriculture side of things. Remember, just earlier this week, 5 different boats hit in the Black Sea region, and we know that there's been strikes back and forth on different grain export terminals, both Ukrainian and Russian. That is not going anywhere anytime quickly. So wheat limit higher yesterday. That pushed corn a good 10, 12, 15 cents higher. Beans had no reason but to not follow suit, especially since the Foreign Ag Service announced another big sale, 330,000 metric tons of U.S. beans. Now that puts it at probably somewhere between 11 and 11.5 million metric tons. I'm Ryan Martin.
Ryan, thank you. This rundown of markets on the Ohio AgNet brought to you by FS Envision and High Soy, seed made for this ground. Find out more at fsseed.com/Ohio. Corn for September, $5.13.5, down by a half cent. December, a quarter penny lower at $5.36 1/4, and corn for March of next, $5.50 a bushel, down 3/4. September soybeans down 2.5 at $12.51 3/4. November new crop $12.63 a bushel, down 3 cents. The Jan down 2.5 at $12.78 1/4. September wheat $7.44 3/4, up by 14 cents. December wheat up 13.5 at 761 3/4. After yesterday's trade, August live cattle up 37 at 218.47. October 210.77 down 17. September feeders 319 even down 27 cents. The October up 92 at 314.25. And October lean hogs 80.90 up 45 cents. December 70.97 picking up 62 cents. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.